Not doing it. Double tap. You have to double tap. Okay, well, let's adjust this up. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see you all here on the scope this morning. This is Randy Hughes. Welcome everybody who's on live and those who are watching in the replay. Remember that there's a chat box on the Periscope, and you can type in a message. So anything I'm talking about today, you want to ask a question on, just type in a little message and ask what questions you want. And if by any chance I missed the question, then type it in again. So there's no harm done there. So what we're going to be talking about today is some marketing ideas. But if you think your followers on Twitter and Periscope might want to watch this, please feel free to forward it on to them when we're done with the broadcast, and we'll get them involved as well. Just so you know, hi, Spartfan, Sportfan, 8899 joined. Good to have you there. Where are you from, Sportfan? You can give me at least a state, if not a city. I love the hearts. Thank you for the hearts. Incidentally, what I started to say was if you're going to share this broadcast, if you have an iPhone or an iPad, you swipe right to find the share icon, and if you're on a Android, you swipe up. One other thing, I have a goal of getting 1,000 hearts this month, so if you like what you hear, please give me those hearts, and I see them popping up now, so thanks a lot. Not only send me a message, but let me know where you're from. Hi, Paul. Glad to have you on. Where are you from? What part of the country? Let me know as we go along here. So, I want to get started here. Oh, somebody from Houston got on. Thanks a lot. Glad to see you there. We're broadcasting from Illinois, incidentally. I have earned my living for the last 43 years in the single-family house business. I'm a full-time real estate investor, and have done so here in Illinois. Hi, Chicago, and hi, Orange County, California.
Frederico is from Chicago, but he's in Houston.
Ah, Frederico's from Chicago, but in Houston. Okay. Norman, glad to have you there.
Haymaker is from Norman, Oklahoma.
And Haymaker's from Norman, Oklahoma. Okay, well, we're getting people from all over the United States, and that's good. So let's get started here. I don't know why it took me so long to realize this in my investment career, but it is extremely important as an investor to get your name and your company name out to the public, and basically build a reputation as a buyer. Once I finally figured that out and did that, I had people from all over town, real estate agents, individuals, bird dogs, bringing me deals, and more deals than I could handle, and it was just a matter of building a reputation to start getting these deals coming to me. That's the goal here, is not to have you work so hard to go out and drum up the deals, but to get people to bring you deals, and then you just sift through them and get the best that you want. So that's our goal here. So let's gear up our thinking from the start to promote yourself and your investment company. The best results are going to be from getting your name out in the public eye, and the program of marketing yourself and your company needs to be kind of a daily thing that you do. You want to make the system work if you're going to be a full-time investor, so you're going to have to do this on a daily basis. And it just becomes old hat and something you do on a regular basis and don't even think about after a while. You'll be surprised at how many different ways you can market to sellers and get their attention. And yes, this is, hi Penny, thanks for joining us. Yes, this is what it takes, is you got to get your name out there and let people know that you are a buyer. Now, you may not like single-family houses. That's what I like. It fits my personality, and so that's what I specialized in. I have owned other kinds of real estate over the last 40 years, but I found that the single-family house was best for me and my investment type and my management program, and more importantly, my personality fit it. But if you like apartment buildings, commercial properties, the same marketing philosophies we're covering here this morning will apply to all those types of real estate. So don't be bashful about getting your name and your business name out in the public eye, because that's what it's going to take to accomplish this marketing on a daily basis. All right, let's start with business cards. This is my business card, if you can see it. It's one of my business cards for my land trust business. I also have a business card for my real estate business, a property management company that I have that I use to manage the properties that I acquire. But this gives you one example of a business card. Of course, you want to put your logo on there. You want to put your picture on there and have it a current picture, not one when you were 20 years old if you're now 50. And obviously your contact information, and maybe even a little saying, if, for example, I'm known as Mr. Land Trust. Well, that's kind of a little hook there that people can latch onto and remember me by. So you might come up with a name like Mr. House Buyer, or Mr. Dealmaker, or Miss Dealmaker, whatever you want to do, but come up with something that makes you unique and memorable. I also make use of the back of the card. You can see that maybe a little bit. And I put on there my Twitter, my Facebook, my LinkedIn, all those connections, and of course my website. Now you can have a website just specifically for acquiring property and bringing deals in. So depending on the degree of activity you want to create, you can design your own website where, as your marketing kicks in, good idea. I could scan in both sides and email it out to those images out to you folks. So I'm going to give you my email address later on. Thanks for that suggestion. And for those of you who want me to do that, I'll be glad to do that. But what I'm saying is you can advertise a specific website. For example, my website was cuhousebuyer.com. And so I marketed to that, and I would have people go to that website, and they could answer questions, why do you want to sell, and what type of house you have, and how many bedrooms, and get all the data done on an automatic basis through a website, and then you just kind of pick and choose and call who you want to as to those deals that might interest you. Glad to see you there, Haymaker. Thanks for joining us. That's a very efficient way of culling through potential sellers, and then you can put that. What I did is I put that website address on the back of my car window, the back window of my car. So when people were behind me at a stop sign or stoplight, they were about forced to read that, and had time to leisurely write that address down. How do you drive traffic to your website? Good question. That's one way, is by putting your website address on your vehicle. Certainly put it on flyers. You can advertise in the newspaper. You can advertise on Craigslist, that website address. So a myriad of ways to do that. And I'm going to show you some more marketing materials here in a minute to get that your phone number and your name and your website out there if you want to. Thanks for joining us, Paul. Good to see you there. So business cards, you order these things, get them 1,000 at least at a time, if not 2,000, because you're going to go through them pretty fast, and keep them on your person all the time. Keep 20 of them, 30 of them on you all the time. Excuse me. A good idea is keep a box of these on top of your dresser at home. So when you get up in the morning, you grab 20. You put them in your pocket, and you know that that's your source of business cards for the day, and you want to come home without any business cards. That's a good way to remind yourself. You can keep them in your office as well, but to me it's easier to just put them there on your dresser and make it part of your morning ritual as far as getting up. the question came in, why do you put your photo on the business card? Well, excuse me, it's an identifier. People want to identify with others, and it's a way for them to identify. If they keep seeing your picture all around town on business cards and flyers and whatnot, pretty soon you get that kind of a celebrity status in a minor way, but people then are excited to meet you and do business with you. Excuse me. All right. Set your goal, get those 20 out every day. Let's talk about postcards. I recommend that you mail your postcards out at least 2 or 3 times a year. I'm going to show you several examples here. And again, I can scan these in and send them to you for those people who want one. But here is a postcard. It says, "We buy houses." And I use my real estate company. Hold on, I'll get back to your question about how you give someone your business card. But this is, I don't know if you can tell on the scope here, but it's a bright orange color. So it stands out in the mail when people receive it. It's hard for them to not pay attention to it. And the reason why I send a postcard, not a letter, is letters are easy to throw away. I know I do that. If I don't recognize who it's from, I know it's junk mail. I don't even open the letter. So a postcard, if you're flipping through the mail, you got to look at it, at least for a second or two, and hopefully it'll catch their eye. But this postcard produced a whole lot of houses for me, a whole lot of deals. It also has my website on there for those who asked earlier how to promote your website. It's got that on there. And this gets mailed out to my farm area. Now, the farm area is something I'm going to talk about on the next scope, so I won't get into detail about that today. But the farm area is for, it's a specific area that you want to buy houses in. And so what you do is you can either go online. There are some services online that will provide this. I always like to go to my recorder's office in the county in which I'm buying property, and they would provide me with an electronic version of those properties that I'm interested in sending the card to. So, for example, you can identify right down to what street you want to buy on, or you can say the northwest section of town or the southeast section of town or everything south of Main Street. So you can really pinpoint the areas that you want to send these postcards to, so you're not wasting your money producing postcards and sending with the postage on them. It can get expensive, so you want to make sure that you're sending right to that market that you want to buy in. So what we do on the other side, it's blank because we would put a label, a mailing label, and our return address. And then on this side it says, "We buy or lease houses. If you're thinking about selling your home or any rental houses that you own, please call us first. It might save you a lot of money. We are ready to act today. Our interest is in buying a few homes up to $100,000, whatever value you want to put in there, with loan assumption, seller financing, or all cash. We are not interested in listing your home for sale." And then call me, call Randy, my phone number, my website, and everything else. So it's interesting. I've had many people get these cards and hold them and call me. The longest was 4 years. A lady called me. She said she'd kept this card on her refrigerator and her magnet for 4 years. She knew eventually she was going to sell, and she called me and said, "Are you still buying houses?" And I said, "Yes." And I went over and met with her, and I ended up buying her house. This is a sample of a card one of my students came up with after attending one of my classes. We buy houses. It's basic white with a little color on the side. It says "Need to sell." To you, your present home might be too small, too large, or just too much to keep up with. To us, that home may be an opportunity. We're a full-service real estate firm that buys, sells, repairs, rents homes in better neighborhoods throughout the Chicago and the suburbs. And we're able to buy your property. Phone number, same kind of concept, just another example for you, what to do there. Now, it's interesting that on my flyer I put, we buy or lease houses. And the reason why I do that is because some people may not want to sell their house for one reason or another, but they still need to move out. And there's an opportunity for you to lease their house long term, and then you sublease it out to somebody else and collect the spread. You can also lease it from them with an option to buy. And we'll address options in a future scope broadcast as well, because there are lots of opportunities in here. Just because someone's not ready to buy today doesn't mean that you can't create an opportunity that will make you money in the future. Flyers. This is a very effective way to locate sellers in need of getting rid of their property. So you got to kind of think outside the box when you're putting out your flyers. But a flyer is just you can just use a plain 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, or you can take it down in half size if you want to. But the way I use flyers is when I'm out driving the streets looking for opportunity. And I think that that's a good way to acquire real estate, is by driving the streets and actually knocking on doors. Now that may sound a little strange to you, but nobody else is doing that. Nobody likes to do that. It's uncomfortable to knock on somebody's door and ask them if they want to sell their house. And so 99.9% of Americans aren't doing that. They're doing all this other marketing stuff, when in fact it could be just as efficient and less expensive just to drive around and knock on the door and ask them. Driving for dollars, right. Nice comment. What I do is when I'm driving through neighborhoods and I'm looking to buy is I'll stop and I'll say, I'll knock on the door, and I may just go door to door for blocks. And I'll say, hi, I'm Randy Hughes. I'm looking to buy a house in the neighborhood. Do you know of anybody who would be interested in selling? So that kind of takes the edge off of a conversation of do you want to sell your house? It's not quite as confrontational. So I say, do you know somebody in the neighborhood? And now, of course, if they're willing to sell or want to sell, they'll say, well, yeah, me. But as often as not, they'll say, well, yeah, I know Sally down the street. I was talking to her the other day, and she said that she's going to be moving. And then I say, okay, well, point Sally's house out to me, and I'll go down there and talk to Sally. I bought many a house just by knocking on doors. Believe that or not, knock on doors, and it works. The flyers, though, are good to have with you if you're knocking on doors and nobody's answering. Hi, Federico. Glad to see you join. So if you're knocking on doors and not many people are answering, maybe it's the wrong time of day to be knocking on doors, but you can at least leave a flyer in their door or in their mailbox if the mailman will let you get by with that. Some of the flyers that I put out will say things like, do you want to sell your house? Do you need a new roof? Do you need new windows? And what I'm getting at there is if I'm driving down the street in a neighborhood I want to buy a house in, and all the houses are nice except one, and it's got a bad roof, that tells me that person can't afford a new roof, because if they could, they'd get a new roof. They wouldn't let it get down to where it's probably leaking inside. So that tells me there may be an opportunity there. So I'll put a flyer in their door if they're not home that says something to the effect that I'd be interested in buying you a new roof. Please call me. Well, that's a pretty strange note to get on your door. I'm sure you've never received one of those before. I know I never have. And chances are they're going to pick up the phone and call you and say, well, what do you mean? Why are you going to buy me a roof? Well, I would consider buying you a new roof if you'll give me an option to buy your house in 5 years at today's price. Now that's called a pure option. And we can talk more about that at future broadcasts as well. But a pure option is really, really cool because you don't have to buy it, you don't have to finance it, you don't have to insure it or rent it or have any maintenance problems, no liability problems. You just have an option to buy the house in the future at a price set today. That is great business in a rising market. And of course, we're all hoping for and betting for a rising market. That doesn't always happen. So if you had a bunch of options that you bought in 2008 when the market started to collapse, you may not have had a good rate of return on your investment on an option. But that's why it's important when you're negotiating options is to ask for the longest period of time as you can get. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years if you can get an option. And that way you'll roll through these ups and downs in the marketplace. So use those flyers for whatever means you want. Keep them in your car. Put a bunch of them in a folder in your car right down in the crack of the seat so you can reach down and pull it up real easily and put it on the door or in the mailbox or wherever you want to post it. Car signs. Some people are embarrassed to drive around town with a car sign that says I buy houses. But as I mentioned earlier, I put the website address for acquiring houses on the back of my car. You can, you can put it on the side of your car. I've seen many people do that, or wrap the car. That's kind of expensive, but you've seen these cars that are totally wrapped with marketing materials. And that really gets attention, but you may have trouble with your spouse driving around on the date night with the car that's got all that kind of marketing stuff on it. When I'm talking about buying property, I'll stop right now before I go on. I am talking about acquiring that property in a land trust. And that's kind of what I'm noted for on a national level is using land trust to hold title of real estate. And we will get into the good and the interesting parts of using land trusts in future scopes. But I never buy directly into my name. Question, I want to get started in real estate, not sure where to start. Should I get my real estate license? Or start wholesaling? Well, you may want to do a combination of both. If you don't have much money, being a bird dog is a great way to get started. And what a bird dog is somebody who finds deals, negotiates them, doesn't close on them, and then goes to another investor and says, hey, I just got this great deal under contract. I'll sell it to you. So let's say you negotiate a deal that's got a $20,000 equity in it that can be proven by full value appraisal. Everybody's convinced there's 20 grand of equity there, but you can't close on it. You don't have a good credit rating. You don't have the down payment. You can't get the financing. Whatever reason, you can't close on it. So you come to another investor and you say, "I'll assign my contract to you to buy this house. You give me $5 grand today, and you can get the 20 grand. So you're going to make 15. All I want's 5 today." That's a great way to get started in the business as a bird dog. But back to your other question about getting licensed. I like that idea. I got licensed. My wife and I were licensed early on in our careers, way back in the 70s, and there were many benefits to it. One was we had access to information that others didn't have. And 2 was we got to know all the real estate agents on a social level. And so, again, as I said earlier in the broadcast, we started putting the word out that, hey, we're buying houses. And real estate agents started bringing us deals left and right, more than we could handle. The other benefit I had was that I could always get a commission when I bought. If it was a listed property with the multiple listing service, I could get a commission, and I could save a commission when I sold. And if you're buying and selling a lot of houses over a lifetime, that adds up to be a whole lot of money. What I eventually did when I could afford it, instead of taking a commission upon buying, is I would take a price reduction in the house as opposed to a commission. So you can see what I was doing there was I was converting income that would have normally come into me as ordinary income and been taxed at the highest rates, and taking it as a reduction in the purchase price on the house, which means that if I ended up selling the house, I would have a capital gain, a larger capital gain because I reduced the price of the house, but I'd much rather pay capital gains tax rates, which right now are about 20%, as opposed to ordinary income rates, which can be as high as, I think, around 45%. So these are some of the techniques that we'll get into in future broadcasts as far as learning how to categorize your income, especially when you are a full-time real estate investor. You're basically an independent contractor. You don't have, you don't have anybody paying both the other side of Social Security, for example. You don't have an employer that is sharing Social Security benefits. So anytime you make money as a real estate investor, you're going to be taxed at the full, both sides of the Social Security charge, which is about, I think, around 16% or so. So every time you can save not being charged Social Security when you receive income, you make 16% more money. That's a pretty good rate of return. So we'll talk about categorizing your income in future broadcasts. Okay, we were talking about car signs. You can get those magnetic car signs too if you want to just put those on, and then when you're out on a date night with your loved one, just pull the magnetic sign off, and then you're not embarrassed to drive up to the restaurant. Posters. This could be in the form of any size of poster if you want to. Hi, Gordon. Thanks for joining us. With the right wording, can be very effective. So you've probably seen these I buy houses, what we call bandit signs that are stuck in the mud at intersections, at major intersections. They're also nailed to telephone poles. You got to be careful, though, that a lot of cities have ordinances against those. I know people that will put them up Friday at 5 o'clock when they know the city employees are off work, and they'll take them down Sunday night before the employees start coming to work on Monday morning, and that way they get exposure over the weekend without getting in trouble with the city. So you might think about that idea. Other future ideas, billboards. They're kind of expensive, but I mean, if you really get into this, you can get on a billboard. Newspaper ads. I think they still work to a certain degree, although I personally think newspapers are dying, but I still do some newspaper advertising. Craigslist is good. The only problem I found with Craigslist, though, is you got to keep reposting. You post now, and somebody posts an hour from now, and they push you down on the level there. But I think Craigslist will maybe let you stay there for about 72 hours, but check with Craigslist and refresh and repost as often as you can if you're going to use Craigslist. Remember, as you add to your real estate inventory, you want to be sure to put each property into its own separate land trust. It's simple, it's easy to do, it doesn't cost anything to form a land trust. It will keep your name out of the county records, which is a great privacy and asset protection benefit, because believe it or not, there are actual attorneys in this world that troll the county records looking for people that own a lot of property, because then they are a target for a lawsuit. There are even individuals that will troll the county records looking for somebody who owns a lot of property, and then go over on one of those properties and maybe slip and fall. I had a lady call me last year out of Florida, a lady landlord. She had 8 properties down there, and then owned the house that she lived in. And she said, "How do I get your land trust course fast, Randy?" And I said, "Well, what's the hurry?" And she said, "Well, I have these rental properties down here, and they're all in my name. And I just got a call from one of my tenants saying that one of my other tenants, who's a man who's interested in me, came by looking for me." And I thought, oh my gosh, I never realized that not owning real estate in your name could prevent you from being stalked, which is exactly what this guy was doing. And all he had to do is look her up in the court records and go from house to house until he until he found her personal residence. So there are a lot of reasons, estate planning reasons, asset protection, privacy reasons. It's easier to property manage when you're not the owner of property. So we'll get into those in the future. But if you want any more information about land trusts, I do have a website you can go to and get free information. It's about an hour-long PowerPoint presentation where I explain in detail how they work. And that you can find at the following website address: landtrustwebinar.com. That's landtrustwebinar.com to learn more. Okay, I'll be offering some more tips as we go about this idea of how to buy. Yeah, landtrustwebinar.com. You got it. Thanks for posting that. So I'm going to offer more tips like these about buying and managing rental property. If you'd like to be notified of when my next live broadcast is, hi Paul, thanks for joining us. My next live broadcast on Periscope, send me an email and put in the email, add me, ADDME, add me, in the subject line, and send it to my email. And here's my email address: randy@mrlandtrust.net. So that's Randy, R-A-N-D-Y, at mrlandtrust, mrlandtrust.net. That way I'll add you to my email list and you'll know in advance to tune in to these broadcasts live. You can also follow me on Periscope and Twitter at Mr. Land Trust. So @MR Land Trust. You probably have friends and peers who might benefit from the same information. And again, I would encourage you to forward this broadcast to them and share it with them, because I'll be doing a lot more broadcasts in the future as we all learn how to make money in this wonderful real estate business that we're all involved in. So thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate it. Be sure to watch my next broadcast. I'll be talking about the farm area. Remember, we talked about that. And I can tell you right now, it has nothing to do with agriculture. It has to do with making money. So it does have to do with growing your investments. So until then, here's to your success. I hope you learned something good on this broadcast, and send me an email. I'd be glad to communicate with you and send you more information in the future. So we'll be letting you know when the next broadcast is. Thanks a lot. Give me those hearts. Give me some hearts, please. Somebody's doing it, so thank you very much. Maybe I'll reach my goal. There they go, man. Awesome info. Thanks. Following you on Periscope. Great. Glad to see it, Federico. We appreciate you. Any other comments before we sign off?
Penny Property ATL had a question about a document.
Penny Property ATL, you had a question about a document. I'm sorry, I must have missed that. Are you still on, Penny? You're welcome, Paul. If you do, would you repost your question, Penny? I guess there's no way for us to tell if she's still on or not, huh?
She, according to mine, is not.
Okay. Well, sorry about that, Penny, but hey, we'll get it next time. It's kind of hard to... will you share your postcard? Yes. Yeah, just send me an email, and I'll scan it in and send it right back to you, okay? So thanks again. We'll see you on the next broadcast. Have a great weekend. Bye. Swipe down to stop.